Whiskers and the brave little mouse. In a world where claws and crumbs should never mix, an aging farm cat defies nature's oldest rule when she rescues a wounded mouse from a rusted trap. What begins as an act of mercy blooms into an extraordinary friendship, one that baffles humans, survives blizzards, and rewrites the meaning of family. Together, Whiskers and Tiny forge a quiet legend of shared sunbeams, secret languages, and the stubborn power of kindness. But when time threatens to unravel their bond, a surprising legacy emerges, proving that even the smallest creatures can leave paw prints on the world, a tender, timeless tale of unlikely allies, the families we choose, and the quiet miracles hidden in barns and hearts. In a weathered farmhouse nestled between rolling fields of golden wheat, a silver tabby named Whiskers ruled her domain with regal indifference. Her days were a mosaic of sunlit naps on the creaky porch, half-hearted chases after crickets, and disdainful glances at the humans who praised her for keeping the barn mouse-free. She'd never bothered with the rodents, until the day the trap snapped. It happened just after dawn as frost painted the kitchen windows. A shrill, panicked squeak pierced the silence. Whisker's ears twitched. She followed the sound to beneath the sink, where a small brown mouse writhed in a rusted jaw of metal, one paw mangled, chest heaving. Their eyes met, the mouse's glossy with pain, Whiskers narrowed in curiosity. She batted the trap, her claws clicking against the mechanism until it sprang open. The mouse stumbled, collapsing into a shivering heap. Whiskers froze. Her instincts warred. The urge to pounce, to fulfill her duty, clawed against something softer, older, a memory perhaps of her own kittenhood, abandoned in a rainstorm and saved by a farmer's calloused hands. With a huff, she scooped the mouse into her jaws, carrying it not to the humans but to a forgotten corner of the barn where hay bales formed a fortress against the world. For 3 days, the mouse, no bigger than a walnut, lay trembling in the nest Whiskers made from stolen dish towels. She named him Tiny in her mind, though she'd never admit it. Each morning, she dragged her food bowl across the barn floor, nudging bits of chicken and broth toward him with her nose. At first, he cowered, pressing himself into the shadows, but hunger overcame fear. Whiskers watched, tail flicking as he nibbled, his whiskers quivering. By the 4th day, he didn't flinch when she settled beside him, her body a crescent moon around his. Her purr, low and steady, became his lullaby. When his paw festered, she licked it clean, ignoring the bitter taste until the swelling eased. By the 2nd week, he hobbled after her as she patrolled the barn, his tiny claws catching her fur when he stumbled. She slowed her pace, glancing back with mock irritation. Their routines became rituals. At sunrise, they'd share a crumb of bread left by the farmer's daughter. At noon, they'd bask in a sunbeam slicing through the barn's rafters, Whiskers' tail curled around Tiny like a parenthesis. By dusk, they played a game, Tiny darting between her paws as she feigned disinterest until a rogue sneeze sent him tumbling, both freezing before erupting into silent laughter, hers a rumble, his a squeak. Seasons turned. Autumn's chill brought them closer. Whiskers' fur became Tiny's blanket, and he, in turn, became her shadow, scurrying beside her like a second heartbeat. The humans noticed slowly. First, the farmer's son, who spilled a bucket of grain when he saw them curled together in the hayloft. "Pa!" he shouted, "the barn cat's gone daft!" But Whiskers merely lifted her head, Tiny peeking from beneath her paw, and the boy's anger melted into wonder. Next, the farmer's wife, who caught Tiny perched on Whiskers' back as she drank from the rain barrel. "Isn't natural," she muttered. Yet that evening, she left a saucer of milk by the barn door. The children, though, were spellbound. They tiptoed into the barn, leaving trails of cheese and apple slices, whispering as they watched Tiny nibble from Whiskers' bowl. "They're friends," insisted the youngest girl, her voice firm. "Like in the storybooks." Winter tested their bond. A blizzard sealed the barn shut, and for 3 days, Whiskers vanished into the storm, returning each time with a frozen rabbit or bird clutched in her jaws, not for herself, but for Tiny, who huddled in their nest, too frail to brave the cold. The farmer, spotting her gaunt frame and bloodied paws, finally understood. He carved a tiny door into the barn's wall, lined their corner with quilts, and built a raised platform to keep them safe from drafts. The children added their own touches, a doll-sized pillow, a jingle bell, Tiny batted like a toy, and a sign above the door that read Whiskers and Tiny's clubhouse, No dogs allowed. Years blurred. Tiny's brown fur grayed, and Whisker's leaps grew. Shorter, but their rhythm never faltered. They napped longer, their games gentler, until one spring morning, the farmer found them curled in their shelter, Whisker's chin resting atop Tiny's still body. Her purr echoed, faint but unbroken. As if she could vibrate him back to life, the family buried Tiny beneath the apple tree, but Whiskers refused to leave the barn. She'd stare at the spot where he'd last chased her tail, her green eyes dim. Then, one evening, a new sound, a faint, familiar squeak. A tiny mouse, brown with a white-tipped tail, peered from the hay. Whiskers stiffened. The mouse crept forward, sniffed her paw, and scampered up her back, perching between her ears. Whiskers sighed, a sound that was half purr, half laugh, and padded toward the clubhouse, her new friend clinging like a burr. The children swore it was Tiny's grandson. The adults stopped questioning. And in the barn, now dusted with decades of love, the legacy of an old cat and a brave mouse lived on. A story etched not in traps or claws, but in crumbs shared, storms weathered, and the quiet truth that kindness rewrites even the oldest of tales.